My wife said, please just keep me as a housekeeper. I replied, it was 20 years of lease. Then I cashed her $250K inheritance check, finalized the agreement giving me the house and kids, and told her she could start by cleaning the kitchen. I just smiled, because the next polygraph is already scheduled, and this time we're talking about the last 15 years. Original post, my wife Sarah and I have been married for 15 years. We met when I was 20 and she was 19. We dated for 7 years before we got married, so we have been together for my entire adult life. We have 2 sons, aged 12 and 9. By all outside measures, our life is perfect. We immigrated to Canada together, worked hard, and built a beautiful life from nothing. We have a great house in a good neighborhood, and our boys are happy and healthy. Don't miss the twist. Subscribe and help us reach 1,000 subscribers. For 15 years, Sarah was the perfect wife. She supported me through career changes. She was a wonderful mother, and when my parents had to live with us for a year due to health issues, she cared for them with a patience and kindness that I found awe-inspiring. I had no complaints. I truly believed I was the luckiest man alive. Our foundation felt solid, built on 2 decades of shared history and love. But there was always one crack in that foundation. A small fissure that I tried my best to ignore. 20 years ago, when we had been dating for 3 years, I had to leave for 2 months for my Army basic training. It was the first time we had been separated for that long. While I was gone, I found out she was meeting up with another guy. When I confronted her, she said they were just friends getting coffee. She cried and told me I was the only one she loved. I was young and in love, so I chose to believe her. I stupidly accepted her story and we moved on. But the doubt never fully went away. It was a quiet hum in the background of our lives. Over the years, I would occasionally ask her about it, especially when I was feeling insecure. Each time, she would look me in the eye and promise me that nothing happened. I always felt a flicker of uncertainty, but I would push it down. Our life was too good to jeopardize over a ghost from the past. About 6 months ago, I was cleaning out our storage room. I found a box of old things from before we moved to Canada. Inside was a stack of old, printed out emails from her first.com account. I was smiling, reading through our cringy, love-struck messages from when we were kids. Then I saw one that was not from me. It was from a girlfriend of hers, dated during the time I was away at basic training. Most of it was just gossip, but one line jumped out at me. Hope you had fun with Mark last night. That hotel bar is a little sleazy but their drinks are cheap lol. Mark. That was his name. And a hotel bar. Not a coffee shop. I sat on the cold concrete floor of the storage room, the email trembling in my hand. It was not a ghost. It was a body, and I had just found it. I felt strangely calm. The doubt I had been suppressing for 20 years finally had a voice, and it was screaming. I did not confront her. I folded the email, put it in my pocket, and went back upstairs. I needed a plan. The time for believing her words was over. Update 1. I carried that email in my wallet for a week. I watched my wife, the woman I had shared my life with, and saw a complete stranger. Every loving gesture, every shared smile, now felt like a performance. The resentment I had buried for 2 decades began to surface, cold and hard. I knew I could not just ask her about it again. She would just lie, like she always had. I needed to break through the wall of deception she had built around our entire history. I waited for a Saturday night. We put the boys to bed, and we were sitting in the living room, watching a movie. It was a normal, domestic scene, the kind of night we had shared 1,000 times. I let the movie play for another 20 minutes, my heart pounding a slow, heavy rhythm in my chest. Then, I paused it. Sarah, I said, my voice even. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me for the first time in our lives. She looked at me, confused. What is it? When I was at basic training, I began. You told me you were just getting coffee with Mark. A flicker of panic crossed her face, but she quickly composed herself. We've been over this a million times, she said, her tone defensive. Nothing happened. It was 20 years ago. I know, I said. But I have a question. I took the folded email out of my wallet and placed it on the coffee table between us. I did not unfold it. Why did you lie about where you were? Why did you tell me it was a coffee shop when you were really at a hotel bar? The color drained from her face. She stared at the piece of paper as if it were a venomous snake. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. The lie she had been telling for 20 years had finally crumbled. I just sat there in the silence, watching her. I did not yell. I did not accuse. I just waited. Finally, she broke. The story came pouring out in a flood of tears and gasps. It was so much worse than I could have imagined. They had already kissed before I first found out they were meeting. Then, after I had forgiven her for the coffee that never happened, she met him again. They went to a hotel. She tried to tell me that she got scared and stopped things after a few minutes, but the damage was done. And there was more. It was not just Mark. During that period of her life, from age 22 to 25, while she was telling me I was her one and only, she had met up with 2 other men. A few dates, kisses. She swore it never went further than that. She was a serial cheater. My loyal, devoted wife had been a cake eater, enjoying the stability and love I gave her, while sampling whatever else was on the menu when I was not around. When she finished, she was a sobbing wreck on the floor. She did not make excuses. She just kept repeating that she was dumb, knave, and selfish. I looked down at her, and the love I had felt for her my entire adult life felt like it was turning to ash. All of it, I said, my voice hollow. Our entire life together started with a lie. I stood up, walked into the guest room, and closed the door, leaving her alone with the ruins of our marriage. Update 2. The 6 months that followed were a slow, agonizing descent into a special kind of hell. We lived in the same house, but as strangers. The anger in me was a living thing, a constant, burning rage that counseling could not touch. Sarah was a ghost, drifting through the rooms, her face etched with a desperate, pathetic remorse. She knew she had destroyed everything. She became obsessed with proving her honesty. She offered to take a polygraph test to prove that the story she had finally told me was the complete truth, and that nothing had happened since we were married. I agreed. Watching her hooked up to the machine, answering questions about her betrayals, was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. She passed. According to the test, she had been faithful during our 15-year marriage. But it did not matter. The damage was done. The foundation was gone. I told her I wanted a divorce. I could not live with the lies. That is when her desperation reached a new level. She told me she had just received her inheritance, a sum of $250,000. The next day, she transferred the entire amount into my personal bank account. She then wrote up a separation agreement herself. In it, she gave me everything. The house, the cars, all our shared assets. She even gave me full custody of our sons. Her only request was that I did not cut her out of our lives completely. She begged me to let her stay. Please, she cried. Just keep me as a housekeeper. I'll do anything. I just need to be near you and the boys. It was a shocking display of self-abasement. She knew she was entitled to half of everything, but she was willing to give it all away for a chance to remain in the shadow of the life she had obliterated. I took the agreement to a lawyer. He read it, his eyebrows climbing higher with every page. I have never seen anything like this, he said. You need to get her to sign this with her own legal counsel present, and you need to do it yesterday. That is when the plan began to form in my mind. She passed a polygraph about the past. She was willing to give up her future. She was so focused on atoning for her sins from 20 years ago, but my trust was so completely shattered that I could not be sure of anything. I told her I would consider her proposal, but I had a condition: one more polygraph test. This time, I would write the questions. And they would not be about the past. They would be about the last 15 years. About our marriage. I wanted to be sure that the perfect wife she had been playing was not just another lie. Cornered and desperate, she agreed. The appointment was set for the following week. Update 3. The second polygraph felt different. The first one had been about confirming a story she had already told. This one was a fishing expedition into the heart of our marriage, and we were both terrified of what it might find. I sat in the observation room again, watching her on the small monitor,